Santa Rosa High is a very special place. It is the oldest high school in Santa Rosa and the 7th oldest in the state. I decided to look at the concept of time by looking at 4 items in Santa Rosa High's museum. 1. Photos and memorabilia of a famous football player at Srhs from the 1920s. 2. Original leather football helmets from the 1930s. 3. Photos of the Santa Rosa High School Japanese American Club in the 1940s. And 4. A wine bottle from Santa Rosa High's student winemaking class in the 2000s that is still being made by Srhs students today.
So what you're looking at there is a picture of Ernie Nevers. Ernie Nevers went to Santa Rosa High School. His wife donated the painting to us that we have on the wall in the museum. Ernie Nevers went on to play for Stanford. He played both ways in football, both at Stanford and here, both offense and defense. Went on and played in the pros, and when they started the National Football League Hall of Fame, he's the charter member. So he was the first group of people that they brought in from history to form the museum with.
After Santa Rosa High School, Ernie Nevers went to Stanford, where he competed in 4 sports: football, basketball, baseball, and track. You can see that times have changed. Professional level athletes today specialize in 1 sport. It is very rare to compete in even 2, let alone 4 sports.
All right, so you were looking at the football helmets, and the football helmets are from early Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa High School is the 7th oldest high school in the state of California. So the things you were looking at in the museum, particularly those helmets, are from the days when they just wore the leather helmets. Of course, today we're worried about concussions and all the things that come with that, but then obviously for the leather stuff. So we like to have that in there to show just how old we are in the sports we've had.
These old leather helmets, which gave little protection against head injuries, show how much times have changed and society's ideas about safety have changed. These days, parents and schools would never let their kids play football with flimsy helmets like these.
So what you're looking at now is the Japanese club from 1941. When World War II began, all the Japanese Americans that were living on the west coast of the United States were locked up for the duration of the war. So students had one day, all these people all over the state had one day to take whatever they wanted to take with them and be at the train station downtown. Those students were locked up for the whole war then, the 4 years, so they didn't finish at Santa Rosa High. Well, in 2005, a parent investigated the history of that, found those people through the magic of the World Wide Web, invited them back, and they came back and spoke in classes and then went through graduation. It was a real tearjerker. It was really beautiful, and I think both they and the school really appreciated it.
The Japanese club shows that our government and society have changed through time. The United States did not imprison all Korean, Vietnamese, and Afghan people during the Korean War in the 1950s, the Vietnam War in the 1960s, and the war in Afghanistan during the 2000s, all the way up to today. This shows how times have changed.
Finally, what you're looking at here is Vintage Panther 2009, which is the first year that we made Chardonnay wine here at Santa Rosa High School. We have a vineyard, and it's out near Cardinal Newman, right off of 101. You can see it from the highway, where we have about 33 rows of Chardonnay grapes. Students do all the work. They planted those originally. They trim them, they harvest them, they fertilize them, they do the whole thing. And then after they're picked, the students also go to the crush, where they're put in and crushed and made into liquid. At that point, it's fermented and starts to turn into wine. And because of the law, that's the end for students. But it goes on to be the Chardonnay, and some big wineries around here, La Crema and Kendall Jackson, help us with that. And then that wine gets released to the public. So we sell wine. On there, if you can see the label, that's Vintage Panther. That was designed by our ArtQuest department. So it's a nice wide school item, and far as I know, we're the only high school around that makes wine.
The winemaking class shows how times have changed. Kids today can participate in some activities that used to be just for adults, like making wine. You can see how times have changed since Santa Rosa High was founded in 1874. Back in those days, high school students couldn't make wine. Santa Rosa High was founded in 1874. The long amount of time Santa Rosa High has been around has given us students a sense of pride about our school's history.